Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Drum Set Confessional, um, uh, observance of International Overdose Awareness Day. Um, my name is Robert Aronoff. I'm here with Josh Eppard, who has a great deal of experience in terms of overdose and addiction, touching his life in a number of ways. Um, this day, this awareness is all about creating a connection and starting a dialogue. And that's why we're here to talk about it. We hope that if you've had addiction and overdose touch your life in some way, that you can share your story because you never know how it's going to affect and help somebody else. You can share your story anonymously on our website, drumsetconfessional.com. And you can help affect somebody's life, improve somebody's life, and maybe even save somebody's life. With that, I'm going to turn everything over to Josh Eppard.
Hey guys, so I want to be upfront and honest that I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know that August 31st was International Overdose Awareness Day. I had never heard of this, but I'm certainly glad it's a thing. And we thought it may be a good opportunity to share some of the stories where ODs impacted and affected my life and a lot of the people that I know. The thing, I don't think these are very unique stories. Sadly, tragically, I think these affect most people. And I think that's where we're at in terms of addiction and in terms of drug use, rampant, out of control drug use. So with that being said, you can film if you want. I got some people here filming. So I'm just going to share a few quick stories. My friend Teddy Martino is just one of many. Sadly, the more I think about this, the more names pop into my head of people that are no longer here on earth. And Teddy's one of them. Teddy was, me and Teddy actually dated the same girl, and everybody would always tell me that I reminded them of Teddy and tell Teddy that he reminded them of me. And me and Teddy were friends. And it's a shame that at the end of our friendship, drug bullshit kind of ruined, we weren't fighting per se, but, things had kind of corroded our friendship, and it just wasn't a lot of laughs anymore. And it was really sad. But I never expected to get a call that Teddy was gone. I knew a lot of people that were even closer to Teddy than me. But sometimes, you're going about your day and something will remind you of Teddy. And even just looking at his picture now, I'm like trying not to cry because it's sad, man. These people are gone so tragically, prematurely. And I thought I wanted to honor Teddy. And there's one other friend, Rob's probably going to be mad at me for this, but we don't have any pictures of him. But a good friend of mine, Tommy DeFury, there's no pictures of Tommy unless they're like on, developed film in your attic. And Tommy was, a wild man, hilarious, but gentle. I grew up hearing stories of Tommy DeFury, like getting in fights and doing all this stuff. And then you get to know him and he's like the sweetest guy. He just happened to be a hardcore drug addict. And one day while I was recording the record Sick Kids, which was a really strange time in my life, I'm like making this album. I'm telling everyone I'm sober, then going in the vocal booth and singing and rapping about how I'm lying to everyone that I'm sober. And it was just this really strange kind of window of my life. And I get a call from a friend of mine, coke dealer friend of mine, and he says, "Yo, did you hear about Tommy?" I said, "No, what'd he do now?" "Yo, he's dead." And I just sat there frozen. And as I say this right now, it's like, hey, where drugs lead. So I can imagine someone watching this that doesn't have the experience with drugs saying, well, duh. And I guess, you know what? Duh. That's where it leads. Death. And if you're lucky, you go to jail and get a chance at getting your life back on track. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I mentioned Tommy because I loved Tommy, man. And, a couple times a month, a couple times a year, I'll be walking around and something will remind me of Tommy. And it's just a moment to kind of remember him and say a little prayer for my friend Tommy DeFury and for my friend Teddy Martino. But I'm going to try to get through this story. It's a little, I've talked about it briefly before. You ever have a best friend, someone that's your best friend, but they have another friend that's kind of also their best friend? That was the situation with me, my best friend, who I consider my brother, Barry, and my friend, Corey. Now, I'd played on multiple baseball teams with Corey. Corey was on my softball teams. Here's a picture right here of that's Teddy Martino and Corey. And Corey was dating my friend Barry's sister, my brother Barry's sister, and we were all just a tight-knit group. And I do want to share something about Corey because it's real, and I just, God, it's shameful. I've mentioned this, briefly. I don't know that anybody ever, even at home in my circles caught on, but Corey's gone. Corey died. And, I have to live with the fact that I taught Corey to shoot up. Barry and Corey used to come to my house and I'd have to shoot them up. And believe me, you guys, believe me, it's hard for me to wrap my head around the decision making that was going on in that version of me's head. It's hard. It's shameful. And when I say the word shameful, I mean it in the most rigid sense of the word. It's something I feel a great deal of shame about. Someone had showed me how to shoot up. I won't say their name, but someone showed me how to shoot up, and I'm not mad at them. It's almost, they're begging you to show them. And they would come to my house, and eventually I said, here's what you do. And I taught them. It's called giving someone their wings. That's what we called it in New York in our nook. That's what the older junkies called it. And that's something that I, as you can imagine, I struggle with. But I just want to quickly tell the story of how we found out that Corey had died. I was filming a video for a song, a Weird Science song called Asylum and Skin. Now, the video is like deeply amateur, but we had no idea how to make a video. I knew I wanted to express something. So Dirty Earn got a camera. He had never made a video before. And it's just exceptionally dark, uncomfortably dark. It's me mimicking shooting heroin and throwing up. And I was trying to express like the utter hell that my life had become through art, through song. And that morning I get a call from Barry and he tells me, Corey didn't come home last night. I'm really worried, bro. I think he's dead. He said, this dude is dead. I know it. And I said, no, dude, no. Maybe he met another girl and he's off somewhere. You have a 1% hope that it's something else, but I knew too. There's no way Corey didn't come home. He's dead somewhere. But again, you got to find him. So there's crews of our friends just out looking for Corey. And we're filming this video where I'm holding a needle and like shooting up water and just trying to convey the darkness that is heroin addiction. And then we would break and go search for Corey. And, my brother, Barry, they get the cops to triangulate the last ping from his cell phone. And, a lot of this is Barry's story to tell too. So and certainly Barry could tell it in ways that I never could. But Barry basically asked himself oh God, it's such a horrible story. It's Barry, Corey's girlfriend, Barry's sister, and a few other people that are looking for Corey. And Barry knows in the pit of his stomach that Corey is gone. And so do I. And Barry basically says, well, where would I go if I had just copped some dope and I was going to shoot up? Where would I go? And he goes up over a little bend and turns a corner, and there's Corey. So Barry calls me. That's all I can say about that part. It's not my story to tell. It's, I know a lot more about it than just that. And that's Barry's story to tell. I wouldn't feel right about kind of sharing some of the things I know about it. But Barry calls me And he tells me that he'll never, ever, ever, ever forget that it's burned onto his brain seeing Corey so blue and bloated, and that he's done with drugs forever. And I fucking wanted it to be true. But when people tell you they're done with drugs forever, when you're trapped in that level of addiction, you know, you kind of take it with a grain of salt. But I wanted it to be true. And this, to me, is just a good example of how by the throat heroin has you, right? This is a great example. Barry could tell you the exact time, but I mean, he used within a day. I mean, he would have been sick if he didn't. But finding his best friend dead at that point wasn't enough to get him to stop doing heroin. And it's really, you know, I miss Corey, man. Like, me and Corey kind of had, it was weird because like we both were like not competing for Barry's like friendship. Like, we had found a way to be friends on our own. I pictures of like my championship softball team come up. There's me, Corey, and Barry, and Corey was my friend. I wasn't as close to him as Barry, but I loved Corey. I had to tell Barry, I've never said this out loud, but it's really sad. I was crying my eyes out on the phone, and Ernie's like, hey man, we got to get back to shooting this video, which I'm bawling my eyes out. And I told Barry, I feel so guilty, Barry, because I'm just so happy it wasn't you, which I still feel guilty about saying that. And I don't even know why I'm expressing that right now, but it's just the truth. I'd lost my friend Corey, and I just was so relieved that it wasn't Barry, which is awful. That's not a fucking nice thing to think. And then, you know, I don't know that I remembered right away, but I remember, you know, soon after, whether it was 5 minutes or 2 hours of the, oh my God, how responsible I am. And that's where some of my survivor's guilt comes from. You know, why did Corey shoot 3 bags of the stuff that I shot 10 bags at a time? You know, some days 100 bags. Why am I alive? How am I alive? I showed these guys how to do dope, and I regret it. Believe me, I regret it. I wish I could take it back, but I can't. And it has a lot to do with why I'm doing this or trying to do anything. Believe me, I want to atone and I want to make as much right in the world as I can, but it's hard to face me. It's hard to sit here and talk about this shit. I showed Corey how to shoot up and he died. And yeah, I suck for that. I wish I didn't fucking do that, believe me. So that leads me to, I guess I'll tell the story of, I'm going to tell the story of my own OD, which is, you know, it's probably the best thing that happened to me in terms of, oddly, I did not overdose on heroin. I'd seen many an OD. I mean, Corey had OD'd at my house once, and we threw him in a bathtub, and we were right on the verge of calling, but he was kind of still there. It was very scary, and he came out of it. And I had other friends that I had to call the ambulance for, and they got shot up with Narcan. I mean, that happened too many times to count, honestly. But I overdosed on cocaine, believe it or not. I'd done so much cocaine that I knew what it felt like to do a lot of cocaine, and this was different. And the fear of, I'm going to die. This is, I don't know, you know, looking back, maybe it was a panic attack that had met up with a 2-day coke bender, or 3-day for all I know. And I remember I was in my apartment, and one of the girls that was there, she put her ear to my chest and she whispered to her friend, get the car. And I just remember I couldn't really move my arms. My arms were locked to my, like, you know, chest like this. And after she said that, like, it brought me to another level, and I'm just locked. And they get me to the ER, and the doctors, like, they're acting serious. And I think they injected me with some type of Valium or some type of thing that I always heard you don't mix with. I mean, Tommy DeFury, who I mentioned before, my friend that's gone, from what I understand, it was a lethal dose of cocaine and Xanax that killed him. Maybe he went too far up and then too far down, but either way, abusing drugs took my friend Tommy. So I always thought you don't mix that stuff too close together, but they, you know, I immediately, my heart kind of comes back down to earth, and some of my heart stuff, believe me, I tell every doctor, I feel like I did irreversible damage to my heart. And I've been led to believe that that's not the case, and that I have a different heart condition that has nothing to do with the amount of cocaine that I did. But I don't know. I'm not convinced. I think they're wrong. So the doctor comes in, they keep me overnight, and the doctor comes in and says to me, "You need a better coke dealer." And I'm kind of laughing. He's young and he's cool. And I'm like, "What?" He says, "Listen, there's cocaine in it, but there's a lot of ephedrine, and that's why your heart was racing out of control." And I said, "Okay, man, I'll try to make better decisions." And he was cool. He was like, "Dude, you're going to hurt yourself doing this. Like, I take a month off." Like, he wasn't overbearing, like, "This has to stop now." And he wasn't a total square. He was a Native American fella, and he had a Mickey Mouse tie. So I knew he was cool. He's being kind of silly, and he was cool. He's very nice to me, and he wasn't like overbearing in terms of like, "Get it together, you little rascallion." He was more like, "Hey, man, take a month off, see how you feel. I get it. You're young, you're partying, but you can really hurt yourself, or you can end your life. And find a new coke dealer," he said, which is not funny, but it is kind of funny. And I went home, and like a true junkie. First of all, I didn't even like cocaine. I did mounds of cocaine. I did my body weight in cocaine, and I didn't even like it. It was just around all the time. And there were nights that it was maybe semi-enjoyable for a very kind of small amount of time. But yeah, so that's what I do with a drug that I don't like. I overdose on it and do my body weight in it. If you can imagine what I do with a drug that I do like heroin. So I went home from that feeling embarrassed and like I need to make some big changes. And I go into my bedroom, and there's, bags of coke all over the place in my safe. And I do another line of cocaine. I always tell this story and say I never touched coke again. And that is true. After I left the hospital from an OD, and then right away did one more line of cocaine and felt my heart speed up like that again. And then I never touched cocaine again. So I look at it as maybe a life-saving thing, because my heart problems were undiagnosed. I mean, trust me, they looked at my heart. They did all the EKGs. I have what's known as WPW, Wolff's Parkinson's White syndrome. And I also have POTS syndrome. And my heart has been wonky my whole life. Why the hell was I doing cocaine in the first place? But I think we found there's not a lot of great answers for a lot of the decisions I made as a young man. But yeah, maybe that saved my life. I'm actually thankful that it happened. Now I don't drink caffeinated coffee, so you would never catch me doing cocaine. I'd like to end this on what I think is a really uplifting note. I have permission from my friend Jack to share the story, and Jack is someone I've known for ages. Growing up, I was kind of the older brother of Jack. I was friends with his older brother and older brothers. And I think Jack looked up to us. And I think that was, Jack was way cooler than us. So it was like a really kind of thrilling thing that he looked up to us. And we all kind of got into punk rock together. And he was so proud. He was so fucking proud of like the ascension of Coheed, and just like the fact that I knew the guys in Taking Back Sunday. I felt cool. I was the cool older brother. And, Jack started mimicking the things that me and his older brothers were doing, and namely drugs. And we did a lot of, when you're 20 and 14, it's one thing. When you're 25 and 20, it's like a different thing. And Jack was an adult now, and still terrible. It's awful. But yeah, I did a lot of drugs with Jack. And Jack is the reason this is an uplifting overdose story, is because fairly recently, Jack overdosed twice. He overdosed on a Thursday and a Friday, and both times was brought back to life with Narcan. A month or so before this, Jack had promised me that he wasn't doing dope. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and some stories came down the pipeline. And of course, I put in a call to Jack, and I said, "Dude, you don't have to lie to me. Like, I don't feel any differently about you, whether you're using or not. You're in a great I mean, that's my gift that I can give to you. You're allowed to be honest with me, and I love you no matter what. And he promised me he wasn't doing dope. And this was a teachable moment for me because I knew that fentanyl was in a lot of drugs. I didn't realize that there's fentanyl regularly in cocaine. I didn't realize there's fentanyl, that the people that smoke crack want crack with fentanyl. That's what they want. They want the fentanyl. So this was all news to me. I've been out the game, so I didn't know that. And Jack had OD'd on crack with fentanyl on a Thursday and a Friday and put his sister and his girlfriend through like living hell. It scared the bejesus out of him. But Jack's still with us. And he's, I think now it's about 6, going on 7 months clean. And went away to a facility. And me and Jack just did some music together. I mean, I came in and played drums on it. They're Jack's songs. They're incredible songs. In fact, I was just listening to some of the mixes, and to me, that's an uplifting story. I mean, here's someone that's in the fight, and Jack deserves our support. He needs our support, on a friendship level for me. But I hope anybody listening to this will go and check out Jack's music, because I wouldn't, trust me, if Jack shit was whack, I wouldn't be telling you to go listen to it. The stuff is incredible. It's an honor to play on it. The songs are, it's about this. It's about what he's going through, which, just like that video for Asylum and Skin can be uncomfortably dark. Some of Jack's music is so honest, and that's where its power comes from. But, Jack's an incredible songwriter. And, I urge you to go find Jack Manley's music. And, thank God he's still with us. And I told him, we're actually filming like a documentary, and I told him this with the camera on, which is always strange with the camera on, but like it was a real moment. I'm just not willing to lose Jack. And I just want to throw all of the good energy I can Jack's way. And he's been receptive to it. I mean, he's doing everything you can ask of him, and he's crushing it. And I'm just so proud of my little brother, Jack. So I wanted to share his story. Again, I got full permission from him to share it. And Jack's band name is always changing. Sure. What is Jack's band's name? It's not just Jack Manley, right? Is it? Okay. Jack Manley. He's Cosmonaut, and then, okay, Jack Manley. And when this stuff comes out, I mean, he's got other stuff up. I urge you to go listen to it. And that's why it's uplifting, because he's making art. He's using art to express this darkness that hovered around him. And, what's this? This is Jack Manley, musician band. On Instagram, he is John Paul Manley, at JohnPaulManley. And that's on Instagram. Thanks, Joe. What a pro I am, huh? I'm like, I'm going to talk about Jack. I have none of his stuff here, but I love Jack deeply. And so I just wanted to end this on a uplifting story. And, my story is uplifting too, honestly. I mean, ODing on coke was it was a good thing for me. Sans that one line after I got home from the hospital, never again, which is deeply, important. I was doing coke every day. I was doing coke to offset the sickness of, dope sick, which it didn't. It really just, such an awful cycle. But, if dope wasn't around, or it was going to be a few hours, we'd get a bunch of coke and do that till, and we're mixing drugs. And again, why survivor's guilt is the thing. I just, sometimes I don't understand why I'm here, but I hope I'm here for a purpose. Sometimes I really feel a calling, and like I am here for a purpose. And this is all part of it. So I appreciate you guys listening. We really want anyone who has stories to share them at drumsetconfessional.com, where it's completely anonymous. If you so choose, and you can comment on other stories. And it's just, we view it as a really important thing, and talking is good, man. Talking saved my fucking life. So I'm ready to listen, and I'm ready to talk back, and I'm ready to listen, and I hope you guys are willing to share too. So thank you. Rob, do you come back on? Oh, there you are. I don't hear you, unfortunately.
On. There we go.
Oh, I got you.
I just wanted to jump back on here at the end. And thank you for willingness to share all these stories and talk about your own experience. I know that it's not easy to do, between trying to, having to relive some of this stuff and the guilt associated with some of it. Everybody recognizes that it's not easy. But I think starting a dialogue and having those conversations is one of those things that can make a difference in somebody's life. And, as corny as it can sound, if we can help one person through the video, through our website, through the dialogue that we have on social media, then we've gotten what we need out of it, which is to improve lives and save at least one life.
Absolutely, man.
So with that being said, I think it's time to wrap up and head out to the next venture, and we'll see everybody soon.